Hello, everybody. It's me again, Media Yabs, and today I just finished watching the Thunder TimberWolves game, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. So, firstly, Thunder win a close one, relatively close. It actually kind of got away from the Timberwolves, like at the very end, after the Thunder kind of had a little explosion offensively that kind of came mostly from Jared McCain, Isaiah Joe. SJ started making shots. They got key stops defensively. Kassan Wallace got a steal. Alex Caruso doing what he always does best. Stuff like that. But I kind of had some thoughts on it that were more involved on the Timberwolves. So first, I'll talk about the Thunder, though. We saw like SJ had probably had his worst game in a while. He still had 10 assists, only had one turnover, played elite defense. But offensively, it just seemed like his shot just couldn't get it going. And, for most of the game, everybody's talking about, oh yeah, this is going to be a game where his 20-point streak ends. But that didn't happen, He was able to get it back at the very end, hit a big three off the dribble, and then got an and one on Anthony Edwards, which, just about as cold-blooded as it gets. And I'll talk more about the Thunder in a later video. I was going to talk about why I think what the Thunder does best and what they do that makes them such a great team. But I kind of wanted to use this video to talk about the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards. Before I start, I do think the Timberwolves are still a good team no matter what I say. That also applies to Anthony Edwards. My other video I just talked about, he's still like a top 6, top 5 player in the league. And it's just there's certain limitations to this team and him that I feel like don't get talked about enough. Why we kind of consistently see them like kind of fizzle out in the playoffs and never, fully make that title run all the way, and why I just don't see them beating Denver. Well, they'll beat Denver. They can beat Denver. Why, when I say that, why I don't see them ever like winning right now, because there's just better teams, and as soon as they meet these like really good teams, they'll just get absolutely like mollywopped, you know what I mean? So first, it kind of starts with the Timberwolves. Number one, their aging is kind of not talked about well. Rudy Gobert is aging. He's been a good top tier center for years, but you could really tell he's really starting to age. He was never good offensively, but it felt like he's kind of like lost his like not just lost some of that athleticism, but he's also lost a little bit of his touch as he's gotten older. Like, I know he always had bad touch and he always had really bad hands, but it seems like his hands have only gotten worse. And it could be because he just doesn't have any like really good passers or playmakers next to him, which is something else I'll talk about. But yeah, it's like his steady decline is like coming kind of a big issue for them, and without Cat here, they're not gonna have like a center for the future. Like obviously they still have Nas Reed, but I'm not entirely sure I would want Nas Reed to be my starting center. In today's game for an entire playoff run, for an entire season. Like he feels like as good as a backup center as you can get, but it's like as a starting center, you kind of worry about that. Especially with how bad his defense is, because then you see them get yeah, they'll have a really good offense with him on the floor, but then defensively they'll just get kind of like moved by any good team. And with him aging, it's like that defense is going to take a real hit. Like it's nowhere near as bad as it was when he was on the Jazz, where he was their only source of defense, but it's a lot worse. I mean, not a lot worse, but it's not much better. Like they do still have elite perimeter defenders there, but it's like that defense does very much still hinge on his rim protection, and it isn't gonna work as he gets older. He doesn't have that same bounce anymore. And then especially if you want this guy to be there for an entire playoff run, it's like, man, he's like one injury away from this team really suffering. And right now they are struggling because now they're gotta worry about the play-in. And that's never good. That's never good as a contender team. Like, yeah, you think of, oh, yeah, they can knock out one of these really good teams first round, where they could get knocked out. Like, let's say they do get the play-in. I feel like they'd be the very easy favorite to just outright win the play-in, but then they have to match up as a 7th seed there. Or let's say they do drop a game in the play, and then they have to match up as the 8th seed, and they have to go play the Thunder. Like, they'll either have to play the Thunder or the Spurs on the road in round 1. That is a lot. You know, I don't think the Spurs are... We're not entirely sure how good the Spurs are going to be in the playoffs yet, but that's still a very big ask for this team to have to go in there and go, you know, have to go win out against one of the 2 best teams in the league, you know, especially the Thunder. Like, I wouldn't want to take a first-round loss from the Timberwolves, because it's like, I don't think they'd beat the Thunder. I think they'd have a higher chance of getting swept than they would of actually winning. So, yeah, and then, I think Julius Randle's been pretty good. You know, he's coming back from injury. Now he looks, like he looks better, you know, but, also, you know, he kind of looked iffy at times in the playoffs too, because of his, handles. They're just not very good, you know. You know, we hear the, nickname Dubious Handle, which is, wow, like actually one of the craziest nicknames I've ever heard in my life, but it's kind of true. Like, his handle isn't very good, and combine that with Anthony Edwards and his lack of playmaking, it's gonna get hard for this team. You know, they just had 20 turnovers in a loss against the Thunder in a game where, without J-Dub out there with SJ playing so bad, it's like that was so clearly an easy, like, one where you steal that game, you know, especially at a time where you need these wins, you know. And those games can be good momentum builders, because you just beat the best team in the league. Now you're going to be like, okay, we beat them. Now let's go on a run. But, yeah, it's really hard for me to look at this Timberwolves team and be kind of moved with them as a contender, you know? And that kind of goes on to my next point of playmaking issues. Now, I will say this. I do think the issue with it is not just Anthony Edwards. It's also a coaching thing, too. It feels like every time I hear about Chris Finch, or anytime I see about him, it's him complaining a lot more about the refs. And it's like, I get it, but it's also, you have to look at your team. Like, 20 turnovers is inexcusable. I get it, the Thunder are really good, but it feels like a lot of their actions are kind of like pretty same, like the same. It's like Anthony Edwards pick and roll at the top, and Rudy Gobert isn't really like considered a threat down the middle, you know, whether that's on him being bad or his team not being good enough to like find him those pocket passes or throwing good enough lobs for him to be a vertical threat, or, you know, they have shooters, but it's kind of like against teams that are really good at swarming and really good at picking apart that pick and roll, especially when you're just not going to use your roller. It's like, I'm not going to leave my shooters. I'm not going to leave them enough space for them to get these open, high percentage looks, you know, or a Julius Randle taking advantage of a mismatch and going downhill, which works, but that's not going to win you a championship in today's game, you know. And that kind of leads me to my next point of Anthony Edwards. What separates him? In my notes, I kind of have like talking points that I want to talk about for videos, and sometimes I combine them, but a big part of that is what separates Anthony Edwards from the other top tier players in this league, and it's playmaking, you know. He's just not that good of a passer. Like, he's taking a leap. Like, he's definitely a better passer, just like his three-point shooting. Like, he's becoming an elite three-point shooter. But the leap for him three-point wise is way higher than the leap was for him playmaking wise, you know. And he's just not that good of a lead passer yet. You know, I assume that's kind of what was happening with the Timberwolves. At first, they were like, oh, we can get like a guy like Rob Dillingham to be our point guard of the future. Or, you know what, Anthony Edwards can develop into that. But he's just not, you know. He's closer to like a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant type of guy where, yeah, sometimes they can make the right pass, but they're not your lead passers. Like, I don't want them being the guys that set my entire offense up. Like, yeah, I want the offense to run through them. But I never want it to be like a thing of, you know, like they're making the passes, they're pocket passing, they're finding shooters all the time, because he's really just not there yet. And I feel like that's kind of what separates him, you know, from like all the other guys there. You know, outside of Wemby, I think he's like very easily the worst passer there. Like, Giannis is a really good passer, especially for his position. Like, he's always been a great passer. Jokic, no discussion needed. Luka, no discussion needed. SJ's a really great playmaker and passer. Like I said it before, I think he's top 3 in the league right now. He's become like one of the best passers out of a double team, like, in the league very quickly. And yeah, it's like his offensive consistency when he's not scoring. Anthony Edwards just seems like he's not doing much else for the team. And you can point at his defense, like as a perimeter defender, he locks in quite a lot sometimes, but he also will sometimes not be completely locked in on it, you know? And it's like, that's kind of what separates him in my eyes. Like, the scoring is there, but it's that offensive playmaking otherwise just isn't there. Like, I don't respect him as a passer. Like, if I'm guarding him, I don't respect that threat of him passing. It's like, I think of it as soon as you stop him from scoring, then you're good. And that's also part on the coaches too, and on him too, to become a better passer, but also on coaches to, you know, try and draw something up to kind of hide that weakness. But it's also a personnel thing, because they don't have a good enough point guard on that team. You know, they don't have a guy that I would trust to make those passes anyway. So it's not like I could say, oh yeah, give it to him. You know, Mike Conley isn't like like, we were talking about this years ago. We were like, man, how long are these guys going to rely on Mike Conley to keep being their main point guard? And we're seeing it now. So it's sorry, it's definitely hard to look at this team and think of them as a real contender, because the Lakers look better. You know, the Lakers look way better now. The Lakers have started looking really good, and that's really because Luka Doncic is having like an MVP level season. You know, the Nuggets are always great with Jokic. I have my issues with them too, but that's another video. Spurs, they look great always. Thunder, best team in the league very easily. But yeah, it's hard for me to look at this Timberwolves team and just be as high on them as I feel like we should be. Yeah, and that also falls on Anthony Edwards, and I think that's a big part of what kind of keeps him from being there with those guys. Like, I can't put him there with Jokic and SGA and Luka or Giannis, because like he doesn't have that like offensive consistency that they do, you know, like the generational scoring and the combined with playmaking. No, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that same level. Like, as far as 3-point shooting goes, he's probably 1 or 2. Obviously, he's actually better than Luka as 3-point shooter at this point, yeah. But like, otherwise, it's like that's really all he has over them, you know. He's got the athleticism, but he's not the best finisher out of all of them. Far from it, actually. You know, he's got the mid-range shooting, but he's not the best at that. Passing, I already said, nowhere near. So it's like, it's just kind of hard for you to be able to put him that high, because now you think like, oh man, you kind of have to retool around him. You know, this team definitely has to make some real decisions, not with him in his future, but like with how they have this team built. They need younger talent. They need people they can develop. They need better players just around him if they're going to win with Anthony Edwards at the helm. Because otherwise, I don't think they'll be winning a ring with him. And I don't say that as hate to him. Like, I still do consider him one of the 6'5" best players in the league, but it's hard to be very high on this team going into the future. You know. Well, thank you guys again for always watching. Sorry there was a little break in videos. I'm not gonna lie to you, I just did not know what to upload yet. And I was working on other things. But thank you guys for watching as always. And I'll see y'all later.